Yeah, good evening, everybody. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Precious, who has organized this webinar on virtual audit. And without wasting much time, because from India's point of view, it is already 9:40. I would like to start with the presentation. So please bear with me for a few seconds till I open my presentation. Just tell me if you can see my screen now. Hello.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, so this webinar's title is Virtual Audit During and Beyond COVID-19. And in this 1 hour session, we'll try learning objectives are, first of all, how is COVID-19 changing the world, especially our accounting and auditing profession, then how to conduct virtual audit using technology in today's time. We'll also try to learn about the potential risk of fraud during this pandemic times and what can be done in future to improve the audit quality in virtual audit. So agenda for this session is a brief introduction about our auditing process and where are we today, understanding the impact of COVID-19, virtual audit during COVID-19, role of audit committee, potential risk of fraud during pandemic times, and in the end we'll have a Q&A session. Let us start with the background introduction. Friends, if we talk about audit of financial statement, our assurance framework includes three kind of audits. One is audit engagements where reasonable assurance is provided on financial statement. I'm sure you all know that absolute assurance cannot be provided on financial statement. The highest level of assurance that can be provided on financial statement is a reasonable assurance. Then second is review engagement, which is a negative assurance, and wherein auditors use the word in their report, nothing has come to our attention that causes us to believe that financial statements do not give a true and fair view. So this is limited assurance. And third one is agreed upon procedures, AUPs, in which no assurance is provided. Only the procedures which are agreed upon between auditee and auditor, they are carried out and the facts are reported. Now, if we have a look at our audit process, which we have been following for decades, the first stage is pre-planning stage, where we collect and analyze the data relating to clients' organization, operational methods, accounting and financial systems used by the auditee. Second stage is contracting, estimating the risk level involved with the audit of client, analyzing the database of contracts, prepare the contracts, and signing the contract between the auditor and auditee. Third stage is assessment of internal control and risk factors, wherein the auditor makes inquiry with the management and other employees of the organization. Observation and inspection are part of it. Review of the previous year's financial statements, business process mapping and identification. Then fourth stage is control risk assessment, wherein a proper internal control verification of implementation is done. Then auditor also try to identify the controls whether they are working or present, working or not, they are present or not. If they are present, whether they are working or not. Then in case controls are not working, then auditor follows substantive test procedures. And after completing this, auditors try to make a list of all his observations, and which are known as audit findings, discuss it with the client, and prepare the draft audit report, which is being discussed with the auditee. So this is the process, audit process in brief, which every auditor follows in case of every audit. Now, see, auditing profession has come a long way from holistic approach, wherein one person from the audit team will look at the ledger and will call, and the other person from the audit team would tick, and then both of them will search for unticked transaction. Today, technology is being used by all big firms, big fours, and other top accounting firms. Now, let us try to understand the impact of COVID-19. See, first of all, COVID-19 is a global humanitarian challenge. Thousands of health professionals, doctors and nurses, they are battling with the virus, putting their own lives at risk, and government and industry are trying to work together to understand how best they can address the challenge which is being posed by this pandemic, support the victims and their families, communities, and search for the treatment and vaccine. For your kind information, till date, there is no confirmed treatment for vaccine which has been invented. Companies around the world are trying to address this promptly by trying to use work from home method, trying to partially start their operations. See, COVID-19 is not only impacting the industries and business, it is impacting the human beings, particularly the mental health also. Statistica has published these details, which says in US, 33% of the people have expressed that they're experiencing stress, anxiety or sadness, which was difficult to cope with alone during the pandemic time. Canada comes second with 26% people experiencing this. UK comes third. And fortunately, India doesn't come in the list too high, in a two-digit number. Although the number of COVID victims in India, people who are suffering, has reached to second highest level. Sorry, in between, I am getting this message that somebody wants to join. I need to admit it, so it distracts my attention also. Now, let us move on. Then, it is estimated that COVID-19 could push 500 million people into poverty. Additional people in poverty due to 20% income drop caused by COVID-19 recession. And East Asia and Pacific has the highest number of affected people, 239.8 million. South Asia, second number, 128.8 million. Latin America and Caribbean, 54 million. So these are the estimates which are given by Statista. And here the poverty level is estimate taken as people who are earning below $5.5 per day. Now, how COVID-19 is changing the world? In this slide, you can see, first of all, because there is a breakdown in the industrial and business operations, economic slowdown will be there. GDP is directly affected. You must be seeing in news reports every day that every country which is affected by this pandemic, their GDP is coming down by significant numbers. It is expected that we'll travel again, but travel will be different. We'll be maintaining social distancing norms. There will be a health checkup before we start from the airport and at our arrival place. Learning will learn from COVID-19. We are learning new things, how to work, how to adjust. We are trying to learn how to live with COVID-19. The offices will be reinvented. Social distancing norm, which we are following during the lockdown period, experts believe that even after the pandemic is over, the situation will not be normal and it is called new normal. So in new normal, offices will be reinvented, which will observe a little bit of social distancing norm. People will try to move less just to chase the job. They would like to have a job which allows them either to work from home or which is close to their residence. Then the future of retail is moving from shopping shops, malls to online shopping, contactless shopping, where people don't come in touch with each other. Can you please switch off your mic because there's some echo sound and noise coming in? Thank you. Now, let us see how COVID-19 is impacting the use of technology. See, communication with colleagues. Before COVID-19, it was face-to-face communication, emails, whenever necessary, but mostly it was face-to-face communication. Now, during COVID-19, it has changed to audio calls, emails, Skype calls, WhatsApp calls, Google Duo calls, GeoMeet, Zoom meetings. This is the impact of technology. We are trying to use more technology for, yes, please.
Okay.
Did somebody say anything?
Kindly go on, Mr. Vinod. Please, everyone, please mute your mics, please.
Trainings and workshop before COVID-19, we used to have face-to-face online training mode, which during COVID-19 has turned to virtual meetings using Teams, Zoom, Skype, Google, WebEx, Slack, Blue Prism, GeoMeet. Then access to data and collaboration. Before COVID-19, it was work on data stored on Audity's client server computer systems, access to data or through VPN. But during COVID-19, access to data stored is through VPN, cloud server, online drives have become very common. Collaboration through remote access tools such as TeamViewer, AnyDesk, Windows Remote Desktop. Then documentation, which before COVID-19 was mostly in hard copy forms or soft copy, wherever it was available as per Audity's own policies. But during COVID-19, this has changed. Hard copies have been replaced by soft copies. Documents are saved on laptop, PCs, hard drives, and later on they are saved on entity server, common drives using VPN, cloud server, or online drive. Then communication with other stakeholders, which was earlier audio calls, email, physical meetings, Teams, Zoom, Skype, but they come in later, least priority. This has now changed to audio calls, emails, physical meetings, MS Teams, Zoom, Skype, WebEx, Slack, etc. Mostly to virtual meetings. Now, with COVID-19, initially it was like all the work has come to a halt. But as the lockdown continued, we tried to learn like how to work from home. And during this prolonged lockdown, we have learned, yes, we can work from home, but is working from home here to stay? Now, there is talk in the media which says coronavirus crisis has dramatically transformed the way companies operate, and although one day some things may go back to normal, remote working is here to stay. In a survey conducted by Statista, people of highest category, 43% say that they would like to work remotely more often. Then second category people say they will try to maintain their old schedule, which is going to office. Only 12% say that they will work in the office more often. And 8% people say, which are mostly from technology companies, because technology companies started work from home much earlier. They gave their employees the privilege to work from home 24 hours, anytime they can work. They were given assignment to complete, and through use of software tools, a check was made on which employee is working, which employee is not working, their performance. Now, Gartner has come out with some research which is that there will be 4 phases of how we respond to and how we react to COVID-19 situation. The Q1 2020 was trigger event when COVID-19 started, and by third quarter they say phase 2 will start when we will realize how COVID-19 has impacted our day-to-day life, our work situation. We realize new realities and will start responding to them. And respond will be in the sense like remote working and all. That is from third quarter 2020 onwards. So we are in third quarter is already, third quarter will start from next month onwards. Phase 3 is rebound, that after this pandemic is over, we would have learned lessons, everybody would have learned like how to survive with COVID-19, how best we can adjust ourselves with the new environment, challenging environment and work. So phase 3 will be rebound for the future, which will be in 2021. 2021, entire this thing will go in learning how do we adjust ourselves, how do we prepare ourselves for the future. And phase 4, which will start somewhere in 2022, when we'll accelerate, we'll look for the opportunities of working in COVID-19 situation also. Now 3 stages to reset business strategy Gartner has identified. First is respond. Immediate response is to save human lives. Second is to recover. After the human lives are saved, the second stage is how do we recover business operation? How do we start business activities? How do we start industrial activities? And third stage is renew. When we decide how we can strategically adjust ourselves to the new normal, which will not be the same which was before COVID-19. Now, this slide is inspired by McKinsey, March 2020, Beyond Coronavirus, part 2, the new normal. So the first stage is the resolve, where we resolve, yes, we have to fight with this pandemic. Second is relief and resilience. Third is reopening. Third stage, yes, in India, I can say yes, our third stage has started. We have reopened businesses, industries. June to December, it has started globally. And reimagination, how the new normal will be there in the entire world, how we will adjust to it, how we will respond to it, and work more efficiently. And that will start somewhere in the beginning of 2021. And after, in the second half of 2021, we'll redefine and reinvent ourselves. This is from McKinsey's research report. Now, Gartner says, COVID-19 crisis has brought down everything to an ideal situation where nothing is changing, everything is stopped. We were mostly sitting at home during lockdown period, but then Gartner is suggesting this is the time we should use it for resetting, for reskilling, adding some new skill set, learning new skills, which will be more useful once the pandemic is over. And that, so that after the pandemic is over, we don't find ourselves lacking the skills which are needed for starting the operation. This is the time to learn those skills. For example, learning how to adjust with work from home, how to use digital technologies to start your work, particularly for accounting professionals, auditing professionals, because this presentation is targeted at our accounting professionals. So our accounting professionals should learn how to use digital technologies to conduct their profession, to carry out their audits. Now, let us discuss about virtual audit during COVID-19. Virtual audits are basically paperless electronic audits that are conducted without face-to-face interaction between the auditor and auditee. So in virtual audit, data is mostly exchanged in electronic format between the auditor and auditee using technology. Documents are exchanged in electronic format, which will be say MS Excel, PDF, XML, Words, text, PDI files, XBL format. Now there are a number of benefits from virtual audit. First of all, restoration of much needed sense of normalcy. See, when you're sitting idle, your mind is free. You are thinking in negative direction. But once your mind is involved in doing something constructive, some work, then there is much sense of normalcy, a sense of feeling that yes, we are working like normal. Of course, it is not office, but still from home also we are working. Then there is cost saving and efficiency. Cost saving in the sense we are not spending time and energy as well as money on traveling from residence to office, from residence to client's place to conduct audit. Then another benefit is, see, the expanded pool of auditors is available. Expanded coverage, use of specialists, these all can be done when the audit is conducted virtually. That is a problem with the audit which is conducted at auditee's place, face-to-face audit. Like you cannot call all the experts at the auditee's place at every given point of time. Experts are available for short duration, but in case the audits are conducted virtually, yes, they can spare some time, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, just to address a particular problem, to advise in a particular situation. But virtual audits has its limitation. The biggest limitation it has is that first-hand observation cannot be replaced. See, auditors develop the hack of interviewing the client and trying to extract something from his expressions, his face reading, like what's going on. That will be missing in case of virtual audits. Then virtual audit make it hard to believe the rapport with the client. The rapport which we can build with personal meeting with the client, that is not possible in case of virtual meetings. The lack of in-personal interaction may open sometime opportunities for frauds also at the auditee's place, because a fear in the mind of auditors may sometimes disappear when they don't see auditor coming every day. Let us try to understand the challenge of virtual audit. See, whether the audit is conducted at auditor's place using face-to-face techniques, or it is conducted remotely using virtual audit techniques, quality standards remain the same. Auditors will have to follow the same auditing standards which are there when they were doing audit in the traditional way. But auditors need to test new assurance method using technology. How technology can support in collection of audit evidence which auditors need for the purpose of getting their audit finding, for the purpose of framing an opinion. Then the biggest challenge is overcoming the physical barrier. Like they are not present at the client's place. They don't have that first-hand feel or first look at the client's records, original documents. Then an understanding between the client and auditee is required. Auditor and auditee needs to understand each other's situation, limitation, and support. Then one bigger challenge which auditors will face is because data will be transferred by auditee to auditor using online drives or electronic methods, data will remain in auditors' computers. So auditors will have to ensure data security of the data security of clients' data. Now, audit process needs to be re-engineered. Internal control testing needs to be done in more detail, because what may happen is, due to prolonged lockdown, sometime there may be a breakdown in internal controls, established internal control system, which is there at auditor's place for a large number of years. Most of the employees, they are working from home remotely, so there might be additional risk which will be present in the case of auditor's environment. That auditor needs to understand, and auditor needs to devise necessary tests for checking internal controls to address this situation. See, auditors normally visit clients' warehouses, clients' factories to do inventory verification at the time of year end. But during this lockdown period, when social distancing norms are followed, auditors cannot travel, then inventory observation through personal physical or physical verification is difficult. Then auditors need to find out ways of using technology and achieving the same results. Management inquiries which were there through face-to-face meeting, and where auditors used to get a lot from the body language of the client, body language of the employees. Now this is being replaced by virtual meeting, video conferencing. So auditors need to find out the ways of conducting management inquiries using technology. A lot is required from auditor side about investment in technology. Most of the firms, so far as my understanding goes, particularly medium-sized and small firms, they have not invested heavily in technology. They still depend upon traditional methods. And I can quote one example, one medium-sized firm which is doing audit of, say, large listed companies. They had a problem when NFRA has asked the auditors to submit the audit files in electronic format, because he had sent me a message asking why this electronic method form is asked. We have all our records in hard copies. So they have not invested in technology. They have not kept their audit files in electronic format. Though electronic formats are available for more than a decade now. Now, what is required from auditors' side for investment in technology? First of all, they need to have a good internet connection. Then the tools which they are using, they need to be using cloud-based technology. Even the auditee, if their accounts are kept on a standalone computer, it will be better if the accounts are kept on an accounting system which is cloud-based and which can be accessed by anybody from anywhere. Third is use of file sharing platform. That is to be, it doesn't require investment. Google Drive, SharePoint, they are freely available. Telephone, email, chat, WhatsApp, video conferencing, communication platform is something where some investment may be required. Now, for video conferencing, there are multiple options available to auditors. GoToMeeting, Zoom we are using today, BlueJeans, Slack, GeoMeet, AirMeet. These are all video conferencing platforms which enable communication between auditor and auditee. Now, one more area where investment in technology is required is collaboration portals. Collaboration portals are basically to assist the audit team, because if the audit team is not sitting in one chamber at one place and they are sitting at different places, then they need to coordinate between themselves. exchanging message, communicating, discussing. So these collaboration platforms can be used. Onview from Thomson Reuters, CCH Axis, Audit Dashboards, Hustle, Intact. These all are good collaboration portals which can be used by auditors. Of course, these all portals are commercial and they have cost involved in it. The pricing, auditors need to check the pricing and select a model which suits their requirements. Now, virtual audit process, the first stage of audit process is planning. So a stakeholders meeting between an auditor and auditee, between the auditor and client, auditees, senior employees is required. Discussion on the scope, schedule, approach to virtual audit, remote audit, information that needs to be shared, how this will be shared, technology that will be used for conducting audit that needs to be discussed with the client, use of say cameras, drones, telepresence, authorization, wherever authorization is required. For example, taking say video film of say inventory taking or access to restricted area, those all permissions are required that needs to be discussed in the planning stage. Second stage is document review. Review of documents prepared by the client, and these documents can be shared by the auditee in say using SharePoint, Google Drive, shared devices, and auditor sitting at his office or sitting at home also can review this previous year financial statements, trial balance, and take down the notes, because in virtual meeting, whenever he has a conference call or a video call with his clients, he needs to have all the points ready. So what he should do is he should review the document, make out a list, the point which he needs to discuss with the client during the conference call. Then site reconciles. This is the most challenging aspect of virtual audit, like visit to factory, inventory taking, where sometimes the auditing standards also require auditor to be present physically. Now, virtual audit process, a large portion of the virtual audit process is conducted through remote interviews. Whenever auditor has some query, he needs to ask his client. So what he should be doing is he should be noting down all the points and then conducting remote interview, maybe say once in a day. They can fix up a time with the client's employee, say between 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day. They will discuss all the queries which they have noted down by inspection of documents and records of auditees. They can discuss the queries every day at a selected time, wherein auditees concerned employees will also be available for conference call. And closing will be same as face-to-face meeting, wherein the auditors shares his final findings with the client and then discusses it before they prepare the draft report. And then after this closing meeting, they prepare the draft report. Draft report is shared with the preliminary finding with the client for clients respond to it. And after receiving client's response, then auditor finalizes the final audit report. Now here, auditors need to check up the standards on audit on documentation. Now here I have quoted standards on auditing SA 230, which is Indian auditing standard. Auditing documentation required that record of audit procedures performed, relevant audit evidence obtained, and conclusions the auditor reached. They form part of the working papers, and these working papers auditor need to keep in his working file. Audit file is one or more folders which can be in physical or electronic form. This is as per standard Indian auditing standard. So working papers or audit files can be kept in electronic form also, because in virtual audit all the files will be in electronic format. There is no exchange of hard copies, but electronic form of audit documentation, audit file is acceptable in Indian standards. This is acceptable even in AICPA standards. North America, AICPA, US and Canada, they accept audit working files, audit files in electronic format. Audit evidence is second aspect which auditor needs to keep in mind is about standards on audit evidence. In India, we have SA 500, which is information that is used by the auditor in arriving at the conclusion on which auditor's opinion is based. Audit evidence includes both information contained in accounting records underlying the financial statement and information obtained from other sources. And audit evidence should be sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Now here I would like to add one thing is, like as of now, see, there is a lot of use of information technologies, data analytic tools in collection and gathering of audit evidence. Now, use of those tools, data analytic tools and their reports, they need to be recognized by auditing standards. They are recognized by auditing standards in US by AICPA, but as of now, they are not recognized in India. So Indian auditing standards needs to be revised or suitably modified to recognize the use of these automated tools and techniques for collection of audit evidence. You can check up the auditing standards in your country and find out whether it permits the use of automated tools and techniques in collection of audit evidence or not. In case it does not, then you should be taking it up with your accounting body, asking them to revise auditing standards to accommodate it. Now, collection of audit evidence. In traditional audit, the collection of audit evidence, inspection of records, method is full sample of record, trace, verify. Inspection of tangible assets is physical inventory, walkthrough. So this is replaced by use of technology. Physical inventory, with this I'll be discussing later. Observation in traditional audit is sitting with the workers. Then inspection, inquiry, written or oral interviews, confirmation, verify account balance, recalculation, exact and recalculate, reperformance, reperform procedures to verify, analytical procedures, scanning and statistics. These are the traditional ways of doing auditing, but these will be replaced by use of technology. Now, audit evidence collection procedures. See, continuous evidence collection procedures are now feasible using information communication technologies. For example, use of say RFID, radio frequency identification tags, which allows to keep a track of inventory when it is moving also and where it is lying. So this is, by using this technology, inventory verification can be done. Now this I have discussed in earlier slide also, like SA 500, which is relating to audit evidence. Audit evidence, as per Indian auditing standard, it does not recognize the use of emerging technologies, audit data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic process automation, remote observation tool in collection of audit evidence. And this particular standard needs to be modified to recognize the use of these automated tools and techniques for collection of audit evidence. Now, some of the areas where existing auditing standards require auditors to be physically present is inventory verification, assets verification. Now, in case of India, Companies Auditors Report Order 2016, which is commonly known as CARO, para 3.2 requires whether physical verification of inventory has been conducted at reasonable intervals by the management and whether any material discrepancy were noticed, and if so, whether they have been properly dealt with in the books of account. So inventory verification, physical verification, that needs to be carried out by the management. Auditors observe when the inventory verification process is carried out by the management. But during COVID-19 situation, even if inventory carrying is carried out by the management through video call, verification can be remotely done by the auditor. A team member can show how the inventory verification process is being carried out by the management, and auditor can have a live view of inventory verification and take a note of it. Now, if you cannot count the inventory for whatever reasons physically, I would be worried about that. History tells us that when the auditor is not able to observe the physical count inventory, bad things happen. Line E. Turner, ex-chief accountant, Securities Exchange Commission of US. Now, what has happened is, in the past, there have been major fraud cases which have happened because auditors did not physically verify the inventory, physically verify the assets. Now, these are some of the cases, famous cases of the history. The first one is ZZZ West Company, which was a carpet cleaning company and a restoration company. The company went public in December 1986 and was valued at over 300 million US dollars. Ernst & Whitney, which is now known as E&Y, audited the financial statement. They were part of prospectus for IPO. This company created a fake contact site as part of an elaborate effort to dupe its auditors. And within 7 months of IPO, the company was bankrupt because auditors did not verify the new place, the fake contact site which was created by this company. Second case is of Crazy Eddie, a consumer electronic chain store in New York. It went public in 1984 and a long-lasting financial statement fraud was not discovered until 1987. They overstated inventory to inflate reported profits, engineered to 120 million rip-off. New management of the company in 1987 reviewed the inventory and disclosed the shortfall in inventory to the tune of $65 million approximately. $65 million in 1987 used to be a huge sum, and because the auditor did not detect the fraud. Miniscrap Corporation, it was innovator of high capacity hard drives in 80s. It masqueraded bricks as disk drives to confuse auditors, sending boxes of bricks to warehouse to simulate the production. Then they did false financial reporting, interference with the auditor, created an automated computer program, Cookbook, to falsify inventory levels and sale. And another major fraud which happened was N. Taylor, a clothing retailer, did not write down excess inventory. Now, inventory verification during COVID-19, how it can be done? See, one of the method could be roll forward and roll back. Inventory verification after the travel restrictions are over, whenever the travel restriction eases out, auditors can visit the warehouse of the auditee, verify, and then roll back by testing additional sales and purchase subsequent to the close of financial years. Then video observation is another method. But is it permissible under auditing standard not to do physical inventory? That is a big question. See, this is why I say SA 500 audit evidence. This needs to recognize the use of automated tools and techniques, including the tools and techniques which are used for remote auditing. Live streaming of inventory verification carried out by the management. Recorded video, but for recorded video, authenticity must be verified by the auditor. There are challenges which are involved in evaluating physical condition of inventory, which is not possible in case auditor is seeing only the video. Then what auditor needs to do is it needs to collect additional supporting evidence using image recognition software, inventory price testing to address the valuation assertion, That needs to be done. Now, here is one example of a famous image recognition software, Count Things. This counts the thing. You can download this app on your mobile phone and it can count the things. Now, RFID is another example. Using RFID, Waves allow users to take an inventory audit on a real-time basis through a handheld devices also. And this is available from a company called simplyrfid.com. Now, accounting bodies have been issuing guidance note on how to conduct remote audit. ICA, the accounting body in India, has issued an advisory on how to conduct remote audit of a bank branch. It is available at their website. Institute of Internal Auditors has come out with a guidance note, remote auditing for COVID-19 and beyond, that you should see. Then ISO 9001, it has a guidance on remote audits of now during COVID-19 there is or virtual audit, there is a role for audit committees. See, audit committees must be vigilant and agile, disciplined and engaged. That will allow them a timely and coherent understanding of the continuously evolving operating environment and exhibit confidence in the reporting, disclosures, conformance with regulatory, legislative and ethical expectation. The Institute of Internal Auditors has come out with 6 recommendations for audit committees operating in the new normal. New normal will be after the pandemic is over. The first is audit committee should stay informed on a timely manner and where it should have a very clear understanding of continuously evolving operating environment which is changing. It should communicate and collaborate with internal and external audit, reporting through dynamic communication, leverage the existing expertise which is available within the organization, promote a continuous improvement, think holistically about the whole organization, about the objectives which it wants to achieve with the audit. The objective is to prepare the financial statement for the investors, for the stakeholders, and the stakeholders are given a true and fair view of financial statement. That should be the objective of the audit committee. And last is embrace technology, maximum use of technology, because social distancing norms will not allow auditors to do face-to-face meeting with the audit teams. So use of technology is the only solution. Then audit committee needs to understand the perspective and they need to discuss some of the questions with the auditor. Will auditor require additional time for conducting the work remotely? What will be the complexity of working remotely and how it will be resolved? Will working remotely affect the quality of audit, the productivity of the audit, engagement team members? If so, and what kind of plan auditors have made? And does the audit plan require any updation? And if additional efforts are required, if there is an additional investment by the auditor in say technology, there will be an additional cost to the auditor, and does that require to be compensated by the auditee? That audit committee should discuss with the auditor. Has remote work affected the company's ICFR? If so, is the auditor including new controls? Evaluating the change in the existing ones? Has the auditor identified any concern with respect to segregation of duties? Because what may happen is during the lockdown period when employees are not sitting together, in case of dual responsibility, the employees may mutually pass on the passwords to each other so that the business may not suffer and transaction goes on smoothly. So auditor needs to check this, whether the segregation of duties is working during pandemic or not. If it, review of the issuer's interim financial information has been completed. Are there any lessons to be learned for year-end audit? Are there any technology enhancement or collaboration tools that will be considered, that will be required for supporting remote audits? Engage with the auditor management to discuss the potential challenges so that audit is completed on time and compliance work is done, because financial statement need to file with the regulatory authorities within a prescribed time. Determine a good cadence of communication between both auditor and management, trying to find out the balance between the auditor's requirement and what management can provide. Discuss any changes to the audit plan from the auditor on a timely basis. Discuss which disclosure may need to change as a result of COVID-19. For example, going concern opinion. Now, one big challenge which auditor will face during pandemic time is the potential risk of fraud. Now, whether or not auditors are responsible for detection of fraud, that is a question of debate. See, historical decision says that auditors are watchdog, they are not bloodhound. But aspect of recent frauds in case of Wirecard, in case of Island FSCs in India, a debate has again started whether it is not the duty of the auditor to detect the material misstatement in the financial statement which has happened because of fraud. Sir Donald Brydon has published a report. He has authored a report on improving audit quality and its effectiveness, report to of the independent review into the quality and effectiveness of audit, which was submitted to FRC of UK. And there is a mention about ARGA, which is the successor body of FRC. The Sir Donald Brydon has recommended that ARGA should make it clear that it is the obligation of an auditor to endeavor to detect material fraud in all reasonable ways. And I also support this view. Yes, even if today auditing standard, audit pronouncement do not recognize detection of material fraud as auditor's duty, it will come sooner or later. Standards on auditing in India, SA 240 does not lay down that this is auditor's responsibility. It only says that if you stumble upon some information where you can see symptoms of fraud, then you need to go deeper into the matter. It does not require, it does not mandate in any way on a duty on the auditor to detect material frauds. But the CARO has been modified to enhance the role of the auditor. Now, but this is specific to India. For your country, you may check up the local standards on audit, local reporting requirements. Now, here one thing you need to consider is the current economic conditions are bad. There is a recession in the economy. There will be unemployment. Now, these are the conditions which, in these conditions, many employees would leave job. So, Americans have lost almost 13.4 million to fraud that are linked to COVID-19. So work from home, remote work environment has dramatically increased the risk of fraud, and it makes it harder for auditors to perform their duty. Now, challenges that businesses are facing is, now as you can see in the graph which was going upward, all of a sudden after the pandemic, the graph has slide down steeply. During the lockdown period, it will go down only, and once the lockdown period is over, then it will gradually start moving up. This is the challenge for the businesses that they are facing. The lockdown is over, but to reach to the level, business operations level, which were present before COVID-19, they are facing the challenge. Now, if you look at the fraud triangle, three things needs to be present. First is the pressure, motivation behind the crime. So here the motivation behind the crime is there is this economic downturn, inevitability, employees are losing job safety, security. Second is opportunity, internal control changes in background which may happen due to prolonged lockdown. Third is rationalization. See, fraudster may think that he is only helping entity to survive. I will pay back when things become normal. That is the rationale which fraudster may give. Now, fraud, 5% of the, as per the report to the nations by ACFE, 5% of revenue to fraud is lost every year. And average loss per case is US dollar 1.5 million. And fraud in the wake of COVID-19 benchmark report prepared by ACFE says there will be 68% people who feel that there will be an increase in fraud. 93% expect an increase in fraud. 68% have observed increase in fraud and 93% are expecting. So fraud will be a major challenge for the auditor. Now, with the ongoing debate on the auditor's duty about detection of fraud, auditors should be cautious about it. 5 types of fraud schemes which are popular during coronavirus: defrauding government about stimulus package, charity and fundraising fraud, phishing and smashing, cyber breaches related to working from home, because while working from home, employee might not have all those software which are needed to protect the data which is lying on his laptop at his home computer. Unemployment fraud. These are 5 kinds of frauds which have been identified by Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, or ACFE. Now, this pandemic has created an unprecedented situation, and frauds are expected to increase. Now, 93% people are expecting frauds to increase. So auditors should be cautious while conducting audit at their auditor's place. What is the best way to stop this fraud? First is to have strong internal controls. Internal controls should be rigorously checked by the auditors. Fraud hotline should be created. Code of conduct, fraud risk assessment team, management reviews, accounting reconciliation should be done on a regular basis. Data analysis should be done. Surprise audit could create a fear amongst the employees who are tentative of doing fraud. They might fear sometimes, oh, sometimes auditor may come, so they might stop. Surprise audit could be a good tool of a preventive measure of stopping the fraud. Proactive monitoring of financial trends. See, best ways of stopping a fraud is to create the controls and to use the services of consultants, anti-fraud professionals. What you can do now is you can update your current operations, review the existing code of operations. You can do IT hardening for taking care of cyber breaches, proactive monitoring of financial trends, assess and promote culture, healthy culture within the organizations, behavioral aspect, review of control weakness. In case there is any weakness, strengthen the control or put additional control. Fraud risk assessment by inviting fraud risk professionals, reallocate the resources. Fraud hotline, surprise audit. Surprise audit can be a good tool. And winners and losers during COVID-19, auditors, 53% clients will be buy more services from their existing auditors, around automated data gathering and analytics. 45% client will use different, often technology firms to gather the data. 2% will have no impact. So client will increasingly break the external audit process into two phases. One is data gathering and insight, and second is audit opinion. 53% client will be buy more services from their existing auditors if they are providing data service, data gathering and insight services, and 45% will use these services from third parties. Now, if you have any questions, we can take up one by one. Yes, please. Hello, any questions, please? See, in case you are finding any problem using mic, you can type question in the chat box. I can see that and answer your queries.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Vinod. Please, if you have any question, you can share them in the chat section and we'll be available to answer them shortly.
So in case there are no questions, then we'll end the session.
The video record should be out on all our social media platforms. So you stay tuned and subscribe to all our pages. Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Vinod, I want to thank you so much for today's section. Although I had a little challenge as regards the network connectivity from our company, but I sincerely want to apologize about that. But I must say today's section has been so wonderful. And I can see that Martin followed us from the beginning till the end. So thank you so much, Martin. This webinar so insightful and amazing. So, Mr. Vina, thank you so much for enlightening us on visual arguments to work on visual effectively in some of the issues and problems that COVID-19 has caused as regards virtual audit.
Thank you.
You so
Thank you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vino. For everyone who joined this webinar,